So Adrian, if you'd like, if it works for you, my friend, we'll go ahead and begin. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Perfect. Well, first and foremost, I want to take a moment to thank everybody that's joined us this afternoon. For those that don't know me on the line, my name is Travis Burris. I'm the Vice President of Global Channels and Alliances here at NUWAVE. I also have Mr. Adrian on the line with us. He is the co-founder and EVP of Dubber. Our goal today is to deliver a very powerful AI tool to increase the customer value. More importantly, to drive additional what's the word I want to use? The additional added product portfolio solutions on a multi-UC basis. So what our goal is today is to educate, and I'm going to turn it over here to Adrian in a minute as he is the expert of the solution. But what I'd like to do is any questions that you might have, just please drop them in the Q&A or the chat, and then we'll address those as we move forward. And I'll check those as Adrian is talking, and maybe we can stop and have some interaction. That would be great. But once again, our goal is to educate for additional revenue value for your customers and also for our partnerships. So thank you for everybody that's joined today. And from there, Adrian, I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend.
Thanks, Travis. Appreciate it. Great to be here. And thanks to everyone for joining. We're excited to be here again with NUWAVE. And what you're going to see today is together we've brought the latest and greatest of Dubber's packages and solutions into iPILOT. We've been working with NUWAVE for a number of years now, and we've made some great enhancements to the integration between the two of us, between NUWAVE and Dubber. And really today we're going to talk about the newer products. We're going to focus on conversational AI. What does that mean? What can it do and bring for you as a partner, a resale partner, as well as, you know, what's the value to the end customer? So we're really excited to have launched these, and they're in production, ready to go, and available today. So with that, I'll just bring up my screen here for Dubber. So we'll know a lot of you on the call, but looking forward to working with you moving forward. We're talking today about turning data into demand. What does that mean? In effect, it means unlocking the value of the data that's inherently captured within calls and delivering them as really powerful business insights and conversational AI. A little bit about Dubber very quickly. Dubber's been around for some time. We came to the market around 2015. We work with hundreds of partners around the world. We are a public company in Australia, and we have global operations in Melbourne, Australia, Oxford, UK, and Dallas here in the USA. As I said, we do work with over 250 different service providers and partners around the world. So we have a pretty good view on what is resonating with the end customers and the value that they're looking to derive from the calls that they can capture. We built this solution as really a platform to be able to capture data at mass for not only traditional capture use cases like compliance, but also in delivering the value of the conversational AI and the content that's captured within those calls. The products we're going to talk to you about today, and I said we're going to focus on the conversational AI more so than the legacy compliance products. It's worth noting that we do work as a global platform with many regulated industries and hold a significant number of certifications in every region around the world, meaning that if you're selling to regulated industries, whether it's for traditional use cases like compliance or even for conversational AI, as the business world adopts more and more of these types of products, behind that sits a host of certifications in which we've worked very hard to obtain over the last 10 or so years. We already work these products that you're about to see today. We work with over 10,000 brands globally. So they are highly adopted and already delivering a lot of value to end customers. That sort of spans across all of the 5 major verticals and over 100 different industries or sub-industries within those, all leveraging not only the conversational AI, but the confidence of our certifications and processes that sit behind that. So today we're going to talk about really the evolution of this relationship. What we've strived to do is really condense the packaging and the packages that you can purchase on top of iPILOT or through NUWAVE. And the reason for that is what we've done is we've effectively taken our packaging, condensed it, included a lot of value at price points that are unbeatable in the industry. And that's true for either small or micro SMB all the way through to government and enterprise customers. So our packaging is very much designed to deliver a lot of value, easy to place with the customer, and that starts from one subscriber or one user all the way through to as many as you need to think about. We work across all of the different UCaaS platforms, meaning that with NUWAVE, we support and work across not only Microsoft, also Zoom and WebEx, as well as where there's other circumstances, we're also natively integrated into mobile and cellular networks, as well as many of the service providers that you work with also. We built this thing for rapid deployment at scale. So this is a fully enabled SaaS solution. So you can turn on, turn off features, provision users, all automatically through the integrations with NUWAVE and iPILOT. As you'll see, as we talk across the plans, we look at an enterprise today doesn't always just use one solution, meaning one UCaaS or CPaaS solution. Many of us use a mixture of those, whether it's Microsoft Teams or WebEx or combination of those. And our packages are designed to be able to capture multiple endpoints and unify them into that same subscriber or subscription, meaning that you can get a real holistic view of an organization, capturing all of the data, all of the conversations, and really start to understand what's happening across that enterprise. We continue to innovate with the technology partners, whether that's NUWAVE themselves or with our friends at Microsoft, and Cisco and Zoom, to ensure that the products that we bring to market aren't replicative, meaning that we design with confidence, knowing that we're focused on delivering meaningful insights for businesses that add value, that is very easy to understand what that value is to the end customer, and very easy to position when you're selling to an end customer.
And then, Adrian, if you don't mind, I'd like to elaborate on our side as NUWAVE, because when we refer to delivering the value together, we have a very strategic alliance partnership in place with Dubber. And why is this important? Is because of the integration that we have with the platform on a per user basis of delivering the AI. And then Adrian had kind of mentioned that we'll talk a little bit about the compliance, but really what we're talking today is AI. But another thing, as a partner, if you've already partnered with us as NUWAVE, this is already included in your product portfolio and it's ready to roll out. So there is no additional certification requirements on our side, paperwork, agreements, as well as we've incorporated this platform into our iPILOT marketplace, which is key, right? So it's a module that we can enable within the iPILOT platform for easy provisioning, management, and enablement on new business opportunities, as well as existing customers that you might have. And then after today, you might go, oh man, Adrian Co might need this. And so that's another, when we talk about the value, our partnership is very strategic, it's strong, and everything that we do is in a single enablement tool via iPILOT.
Absolutely. Thanks, Travis.
Yes, sir.
To take that one step further, I mentioned, multi-UC, and this is a use case we see repeating itself more and more often, where the end customer is using a mixture of the different UCaaS solutions or CPaaS solutions. Today, enterprises are looking and leaning into partners that have the ability to help them with dealing with their own InfoSec processes. So how do they deal with data? How's it managed? Where is it managed and stored? And can they be confident in the solution that's housing their sensitive data? With Dubber and with the ability to unify that data against a single user from multiple endpoints, This means it's effectively one solution, whether that's a solution that's sitting across knowledge workers or brick and mortar situations, as well as contact center solutions. So having one tool to manage data and data processes, not only from a policy and point of view, but also then looking forward to how do they leverage that data even up and above what we do out of the box, which you'll see shortly, for different types of integrations into tools like CRMs or other extended business intelligence tools or knowledge management tools. So having one platform or one portal to manage those separate items, the policies and actual management of the information is really resonating within customers. Last thing on sort of delivering the value together, the packages that you'll see here today they all include an element of AI. We do that because we started, whether it's a baseline package where a customer may need to capture a call, or is a SMB that's really looking to start understanding what's happening better in their business. These packages all include an element of conversational AI, and they're delivered that way to give you the opportunity to meet the demand in the market today, which is customers talking about AI and how AI can help their business. Being able to answer that and come to the customer as a sort of trusted advisor saying, look, we can introduce you to this tool. It's going to do X, Y, and Z, and we'll show you that in a second. But then also having the ability to very easily take them up that value chain and increase the ARPU to the across that account. And you'll see how and why we've done it that way. It's really to help you in that journey in bringing that customer along the value chain.
That's a great point, Adrian. Thank you for bringing that up, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple other things about really who we are and what we're doing. So the integrated solution. So this is not just about voice calls. It's about managing voice, video, chat, conferencing. You'll see more and more of these different modules or modalities coming into the platform. But today we cover the broad spectrum of all spoken communication and also chat. The meaning is one integrated solution, one portal to manage that data effectively, again, against policy or against use cases to use it as the enterprise sees fit. And compliance ready. This is a solution that's effectively built for service providers, and I mean large networks, to capture data at scale in a fully secure and compliant way. Again, utilising those policies across and making sure that any of those customers in a regulated environment, so whether that's financial services or healthcare, for example, that they can meet their minimum mandates that they're regulated and mandated to. We also have, just worth noting, the Double Trust Centre. So this is a extremely, we find our end customers and partners see this as an extremely valuable tool. It's called the Double Trust Centre. We can provide that information to you if you haven't seen it and you are a partner today, or if you're coming on board. The Trust Centre effectively holds every, as we've worked with tens of thousands of customers around the world in those different types of industries, we've gone through a lot with our partners to ensure that the solution is fit for purpose. It helps the end customer to be compliant within their regulatory mandates. These have been productized into a trust center. So if there's a requirement to answer an RFP, for example, and understand how a certain process is managed or how certain certifications are applied in that instance, these data points are all available for our partners to leverage to answer those different RFPs or position or answer questions from customers, as well as anything with respect to our own processes around AI and how they work. We do have also a very strong eye on responsible developing against the responsible AI policy, and we can talk to that a little further if needed too. What is conversational AI? The products you see here today are they're not double taking a transcript and throwing it into market-ready tools like ChatGPT or OpenAI or any of the sort of off-the-shelf tools. These are, and we call them double moments. You'll see that shortly. These are products that they've had significant resource and development and investment over the last few years. The multi-award winning and patented solutions. As you'll see, I'll go through the features of those in a minute, as well as, this is an enterprise-grade platform built for not only the largest of enterprise, but the largest of the service providers and technology partners, like we've mentioned before. What that means is if you are selling within the US alone, or you're selling, in EMEA or APAC, then this is a solution that you're going to be able to sell globally. And we have many customers where this is the case, that are using DUBA across all three regions, or all major regions, I should say, around the world, multiple countries. And for the reasons that the data is captured and processed and stored within region locally, means that everything is managed from a data sovereignty point of view, against local market regulations and data and PI standards. So this is a solution that you can feel fairly confident walking to the largest of customers, knowing that the data is managed in a way that they're going to need or going to desire for it to be.
So Adrian, based on that right there, and if you're going to get into this, I'm going to ask a question. And if you get into it, just say, we're going to.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead.
But when you're referring to global communications and the larger customers, what type of vertical markets are you seeing that you're having most success with? I know we have ours when we do voice enablement, but obviously you're delivering a more powerful solution than me just delivering, a dial tone. And I hate to use the word, but I'm going to use it. But what are you seeing success in the type of business model, maybe size or organization or vertical?
Yeah, sure. So when I talk about data sovereignty on a global basis, it's in regulated industries that have fairly strict security and compliance policies across the organisation. So that can be a mixture of financial services, healthcare, and the sub verticals that sit under those. And if I use and we are talking really here about capturing in a compliant way, but it's very relevant, because as these organisations take on the AI tools, and they're doing that also, the data effectively needs to be managed in the same way. And the benefit to being able to provide the end customer a solution that can meet that requirement is that it's one solution, one set of tooling, one set of security review, policy review to get the actual solution sold into the customer. Typically and historically, you would have, even without, a global platform where there's different solutions in a different region, you'd have multiple solutions, security control, security reviews, risk reviews, et cetera, and so forth, that you would need to go through as the partner to be able to sell that into a customer. So what does that mean? Not only is that a lengthy process, it's a process that inevitably not all solutions are the same. So a lot of back and forth with the different vendors, questions, et cetera, and so forth. But ultimately what that does is it means the time to cash, from cash to quote to cash, is in those types of sales scenarios, they are lengthy anyway, but it drags it out even further. So with one solution meeting that entire requirement from a global basis, not only are you going to be providing that solution, I guess a broader subset of subscribers, but it's also creating a situation where you're extremely sticky in that customer.
Right.
That's an embedded solution, and a solution that effectively you're selling into them and you're going to benefit from.
Yeah, and to that point, right? So if we're not doing our due diligence based on those industries that you just referred to, somebody's selling it to them, right? Because it's required. So, obviously, and I'm, sales, so that increases our monthly recurring revenue source. But so prime example, another reason why I asked that is if we're in these opportunities, and not to educate sales one-on-one, but if we're not asking the questions, then someone is asking those questions to secure that business. And to Adrian's point, I love the word sticky. I know our goal here at NUWAVE is to be sticky with every solution that we deliver. And so thank you for that. Thank you for that overview, Adrian.
Yeah, absolutely. No problems. I think the last point to that, and I want to move on, but is data is, as we all know, the new gold or new oil. The products that we're going to go through here today, we're effectively surfacing and processing conversational AI, which are data points. In the situations where customers are implementing a solution to leverage that and understand what's happening in the business, you'll see today that the insights that we deliver are extremely valuable and accurate and valuable to the end customer. And we use them in a way that provides an outcome instantly. But some customers will want, as they get more familiar with leveraging data in the business and the data world, to integrate those into other solutions. Again, this is a platform. We built it with the vision to capture any endpoint from CPaaS or from telecommunication service providers. Having that data available to end customers via API is extremely valuable, especially as we move down the agentic AI and leveraging those types of things. That's true in that all of the features that you see here today are supported by APIs, productized APIs, which allow for that integration into other tools. Yeah. Okay, so to move on to what are the packages, we'll just quickly go over them. Historically, there was a few more and different types of packages which were focused on recording or recording with some transcription and sentiment. What you'll see in the portal via iPILOT, via NUWAVE today, 3 products. The key products here are double recording plus trends. This is for any capture scenario where a customer is has a use case or has an interest in capturing the calls. And I'll talk about trends in a minute, but effectively we're starting to introduce customers that don't quite understand how the data can benefit them as an organisation, to start tracking things like how many their customer success across the business or sales performance across the business, and we'll drill into that in a little bit here. Double unified capture plus insights. This is really our main fit for everyone enterprise, regulated industries, compliance, everything solution. Unified capture plus insights, exactly that, allows you to capture multiple endpoints, multiple solutions in, I guess, the one subscription, and also includes all of the tools for any enterprise use case. So management of different teams, departments, locations, etc., and so forth, different levels of access control, and all of the tools, effectively an enterprise, whether it's for business processing or for regulated, meaning that the tools for compliance, etc., and so forth, use cases are included in that SKU also. So there's a lot of value packed into both of those 2 SKUs, from let's capture and start looking at the data within the calls, up and above just recording a telephone call. And you'll notice we call it capture. It is capture because it's capture from multiple devices. It's not just about audio recording. It is about capturing the different mediums, modalities, and then meeting the enterprise use case, and then starting to leverage conversational AI to understand what's actually going on in a way that's fit for that different business. And that'll make a little bit more sense when I talk about the different themes or moments that we've brought to market, where that specific SKU allows you to do that at a very granular level. Double Insights is really our premier SKU for conversational AI. It includes all of the capture and compliance features. So traditional, all of the enterprise features you're going to need in a capture platform, a recording platform, as well as all of our AI tools, conversational AI tools, and probably best at this point we start looking at what they are. But idea here is that if you've got a customer that needs to capture calls, it's not a regulated or compliance-based customer, you're going to be able to just give them a very low entry plan from a package from a price point perspective. In fact, it is, I believe, the lowest price point that in partnership we can bring to market that we have brought to market with NUWAVE, including the conversational AI in the form of trends, and then moving up into those sort of more known enterprise use cases where it's capture and insights. The last point I want to sort of make on this, and I think we might cover this a little later, is I mentioned that we're seeding in these conversational AI tools and products for customers that don't quite know yet how they're going to use this information in their business. These plans are designed to give you, the partner and reseller, the ability to differentiate the offer, come into the conversation with features that are relevant, that customers are interested in learning about, but don't quite know how may not quite know how it's going to impact their business. We're including and sort of bringing those tools into the packages to allow for another conversation down the path where they do understand the value and very easily go from a basic or the level entry plan and say, well, this is really interesting. I want to understand at a granular level, and I can see how that's going to help my business. Very easily move them up the value chain. From a timing perspective, I won't go through this all, but we were born in the cloud. It's a platform as a service built for mass capture with service providers and communication platforms, which means we're being able to work very quickly and effectively with those technology partners to bring features that are relevant to market and very fast to deploy. The good news is here that with NUWAVE, the work's done, so you can start selling this today. It's literally flick the button, auto provisions against the different users on any of those platforms, as well as the contracting, et cetera, and so forth. We'll move past some of the advanced features. Obviously, we're not talking about compliance or regulated use cases here today, but everything you're going to need to be able to meet those customer needs for the different industries, the tools include, the packages include, I should say. Any questions at this point, Trav?
No, I'm good. I was just taking notes for myself. I'm learning today as well, so that's good. This is awesome. No, I don't, but I do want to make sure that people are asking questions. So don't there's I'm going to use the term. Everybody says, oh, I have a dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. But hold on, there is a question that just came in. Does the solution support auto redaction to product PII information? If so, what product license does that fall under?
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thanks for whoever that was. Yeah, we do have a AI redaction tool. It is available today, and without pulling up all of the different strings of information that it automatically redacts, and it does cover, the things you're going to need from whether that's credit cards, dates of birth, PI, all of the different. And I'll bring it up in a second. Out of the box, that can be included and turned on as part of those more premium SKUs.
Perfect. Great question, by the way. Thank you.
Just on the cloud technology, worth noting. So when we're bringing these features to market, we design and bring the features to market for a mass market appeal, meaning that they're designed to be able to, out of the box, meet predominantly all use cases. There's always some outliers, but the idea here is that we're bringing products and packages to market that help you sell really easily in a way that, and designed in a way that customers can see and understand the value to their business out of the box. And hopefully you'll see that today. And the idea is that it makes it a lot easier to position these products. And then if you need to go a step further for specialized use cases, we can help with that also. Okay, I'm going to talk around what is conversational AI. So we brought this product first to market now around 2 years ago. Product is called Double Moments, and we built this product on the basis that there's different moments that happen within calls, all day and every day, and they are based on different themes. And so the first of the moments that we brought to the market was something called double complaints, and the names are quite bold. So you have double complaints, abuse, and they're designed in a way that's, again, very easy to understand for the customer. Well, do I want to understand how many of my customers are complaining, or is there abusive language happening within the organisation? So the first of those was double complaints. It fits under one of 4 themes that are in market today: voice of customer, employee safety and wellbeing, and sales performance. Security and compliance, there are moments that exist. We're about to hit the market, but we won't cover that one specifically today. But yeah, so looking back to the first of those, which was double complaints, and really what the difference with how Moments looks at conversational AI is, we effectively take the entirety of the context of the call and process against these different frameworks or models that have been built. Those models have been really tailored to understand. So in terms of complaints, it's looking for a level of service that's not being met. So it's not just looking for people saying keywords like unhappy or frustration or etc. And so if we're looking at the sentiment, when it's a negative sentiment, overall sentiment in the call, it's looking specifically to understand whether or not that fits within the framework and model that constitutes whether or not the customers receive that level of service that should be expected in that scenario. And we'll drill a little bit deeper into that in a second. Service delivery. This is a module that Moment that was brought to market through working really closely with local government departments. So if you think about the scenarios there, we'll go through that, and then customer satisfaction. Abuse sits under employee safety and wellbeing, but it's really strong with respect to organisations that are focused on the ESG policies. We see a lot of customers in and around, profiles or personas that find a significant amount of value that sit in the HR departments, for example. So trying to not only as a mixture of these different moments put together, understand and ensure that the customers are receiving the level of service they should from the knowledge workers or from the agents taking the calls, but actually what's happening across the organisation, how are our staff being treated, and ensuring that they're putting the proper policies in place to deal with those types of scenarios. I mean, we've all called our airlines, our banks, our utilities and services, and I'm Australian, but I've seen it here and in the UK recently. People's patience and consumers' patience is definitely on the low side these days. Trying to manage that and manage the engagement interaction between staff and consumers, and ensuring that processes are as smooth as they can be to mitigate some of those scenarios. These are tools that organisations can use in every vertical to improve that on both sides of the case. And then sales performance. Any customer that's dealing with selling over the phone, engaging, transacting over the phone, or within customers is always looking for what's going right, what's going wrong, how can we improve performance and outcome. Is there issues in that sales journey, and how do we mitigate that? What's causing customers not to buy, or we've done a marketing campaign. How do we manage the performance across multiple, brick and mortar stores, for example? We see a lot of customers in the retail space using a combination of these moments to understand at a granular level. When I say granular, not just from a data perspective, but also by store. Which region's performing the best from a response to marketing promotions. How the different geographies and the customer engagement and buying patterns are affected or change across those different geographies. So let's pause there for a minute. It's quite a bit of data, and I wanted to just field any questions that have come in.
Yeah, no, I haven't had any questions come in. Hopefully they will start coming in, but I see, obviously for all four of these are extremely valuable, right? Voice of customer, the employee, as well as sales performance. But, I think, when you're dealing with this type, when you're dealing with performance levels on any level, this is how you can either break or make your company, right? This is, it's key component. And by being able to provide these tools to a company, it's not, I would look at it more as the customer is wanting too much. It's maybe what can we do better as an organization for better delivery, right? And I think that that's really where the sales performance is going to come into play. And then also when you're working in a customer service, which I don't have the skill set to do that, I don't have the patience for it, where 90% of those calls are probably not good calls. And so it's very important to keep the well-being of your colleagues in check as well, and understanding what they deal with on a day-to-day based on performance, product, solution, or whatever that case might be. That's my 2 cents. But I see major value to definitely the safety and well-being, and also the sales performance.
Yeah, thanks, Trev. I'll go through a couple of use case scenarios in a minute.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sort of help that come to life. Really, before we move on to that, I guess one more point around what makes these products unique. Historically, we don't need to focus on that too much because the world does have access to products now. But historically, how would organizations understand, or how was data analysis performed? And that was done by data sampling. Take a random sample of calls across a period of time, and then analyze them manually, understand what customers are saying, and then apply that to extrapolate that out over a broader data set. Fairly inaccurate, or inaccurate, I should say, and for the reasons that are going to be obvious in a second. Today, what we see in the market, that's really the evolution of where things sit today, is customers have access to transcriptions. They have access to tools off the shelf where they can take data sets, and there's BI tools, and they can run query-based analysis across that data set. It can be, means that they can analyze everything. They can get across the broad spectrum of data. But because it's query-based, so you're looking for things like keywords, tell me how many customers mentioned a specific product, how many customers mentioned a product and were unhappy, which sales didn't close because of delivery delay, et cetera, and so forth. Can give an accurate result, but consistently across a broad data set, what's going to happen is it delivers what's called, or what we know as, a lot of false negatives or false positives, meaning that, today, Travis and I started this call, I'd stubbed my foot just as I was walking to the computer. So, I just stubbed my bloody foot, and, I'm Australian, so I could say that. But, so my morning hadn't gone too well. But otherwise, I'm really excited about this webinar today to show our partners together what's on offer and what they can access through our iPILOT and NUWAVE. So in that scenario, for example, it's a positive and a negative. I'm going to get a ambiguous result in terms of, I'm going to deliver a result that has to be further analysed, and it's not actually relevant to what we're talking about today, which is the success of this webinar and the discussion around these new products. So with double moments and trained AI models, by taking the entire context of that call into consideration, we're effectively taking anything that doesn't relate to that business as a whole. And these models and products, by the way, are continuously learning within the customer's account. So it's becoming more and more, increasingly more accurate, but in context with that business. So if you're let's take a retail store selling a certain type of products, or, for auto, for example, that might be one, or, it could be a local department dealing with council services, or county services like, bin collection, that type of things. It's going to become more and more accurate and in terms of triggering those moments and surfacing those moments. And when we cross, really across the query-based, which is AI solutions, so taking data sets and using off-the-shelf tools versus actual trained AI models, the difference in precision, the scientifically precise insight or accuracy, it's significantly different. So that means out of the box, customer knows, okay, this data, I need to look at this call, this set of calls that are being identified as, customer service issues pertaining to this product, or sales performance based on X factor or Y factor. So they're going to be able to identify, drill down very, very quickly as to how this data insights, conversational analysis can help with their business. I'm going to move through this one pretty quickly, but these are just sort of different personas or buyers within customer organizations that seeks tremendous value in these products. Obviously chief revenue, and the beauty of these products is you can have multiple moments turned on at once. So, and this is like a good mix of the value from Sarah's perspective here, the CRO. She's looking at sales performance at the sales close moment, trying to understand how to squeeze more out of those interactions with customers. What's working? What are customers responding to? Where's the negotiation going right or wrong? How many customers that are responding to over-the-top marketing efforts are being converted for appointments, and then from appointments to actual sales. When you take the multiple moments, and we'll see that we're not only identifying against that use case, but we might be looking at, okay, we're having a lot of customers that are calling in about a specific service, and we're able to, the term is expand on that situation, and then sell them into a higher, or retain that customer and sell them into a higher package, or into another package to retain them and not lose the customer, so mitigates sales churn. Really important. Again, looking at these models, they're designed to be easy to use, easy to understand. The whole intention here is, customers don't need to have a data analyst or a business analyst on staff to be able to take data sets and slice and dice and try to bring meaningful outcomes to the management of that company. The models are trained to do that out of the box, as I said, and what resonates really well is you can drill down to that meaningful data simply within 3 clicks. So if you're looking for something, you can find the answer to it very quickly, versus having to trawl through different data sets and different periods of time to understand, irrespective of what you're looking for, that answer. And so when positioning with customers, for them to hear that they can understand what's happening within 3 clicks is huge, and we get a very strong response to that. I guess, and it's written here, the word that resonates is it's actionable data, meaning that you can take something and impact a process instantly as soon as the call's completed. Okay, I've covered a lot of that, so except for to say the themes you've seen today, so whether it's voice of customer, employee wellness, and what is it? Yeah, employee wellness out of the box, and also sales performance. What we are doing as your partner is helping to start position those against the major verticals. So for industries, what is the value to financial services? What is the value to hospitality, healthcare, retail? What type of value do they see out of the box? So today we want to show you the functional value. What you'll start to see between Dubber and NUWAVE is how do we position those for this type of customer? What are they going to see in terms of the outcome and value? Meaning that we're looking very to help with that process in positioning these products. And I sort of mentioned it's self-learning, so there's no manual setup. It's effectively, as soon as we start capturing that data, the models will start categorizing them appropriately. So, so out of the box, and I want to say actually, Trav and I were speaking before the webinar. We could take you through a demo here today. Obviously, these are all in production. We want to talk a little deeper on sort of the value of these different moments, and invite you all to a deeper demonstration, take you through the portal, through the different moments and their value prop at any time. So
Yeah, and to Adrian's point, not to cut you off, sir, I apologize. So what we're going to do, and I know we have about 15 minutes left, and we do want to bring the value, and Adrian and I were talking about this earlier. So after today's call, you know, your sales director that supports you as a NUWAVE partner or maybe soon to be partner, they will definitely be reaching out to the individuals that joined today. They'll be saying, hey, do we need to take a deeper dive? Do we want to get technical involved? Do we want to get sales administration? So today is, once again, guys, I really want to bring the value of the product. And then also what this will do for us is there might be things that you've seen that you have customers that are currently out there and you're like, hey, I just spoke with XYZ tile company and this would be a great fit. So once again, more educational, but we are available for demos. You can reach out to your sales director or they'll reach out to you afterwards to schedule those one-on-ones.
So thanks. All right.
Yeah.
So sort of leaning into those different functions, conversational for AI for sales. Really the key is improving broken processes or getting more out of productive sales teams today. When it sits across function like customer service and sales, starting to see those gaps and those areas for improvement become very obvious to the end customer and allows them to make the changes they need in those processes to improve or mitigate those. So all these modules come with out-of-the-box topics. Okay, so those topics are being obviously researched and we've developed against those topics in that they're consistent across all the verticals from a sales perspective or from a complaints perspective to constitute that model, the outcome for that model. So out of the box for sales, for example, we look at different topics such as, I'll show you. That allow you to, improve on close rate, conversions by team, store, or individuals within the organisation, drill into which products or services resonating or causing issues if it's a complaints perspective, and then how things can be very easily bundled and understanding what customers resonates with customers in order to do that. Why is this not working? Sorry.
And then also, Adrian, real quick, if you don't mind, we did have another question drop in to the box. Does Dubber provide voice services exclusively, or does it integrate with the UC collaboration tools to facilitate both phone calls and video calls?
So we are pre-integrated into the environments, meaning so if you take Microsoft, for example, what will happen is effectively you will be authenticated to allow us to capture that data against that tenant and against that user or team within the organisation. We'll capture it and then process it accordingly for the plan. If you talk about Cisco, Dubber is very deeply integrated with Cisco from Cisco Web as calling. We also support all of the on-prem solutions. Meaning that we're receiving the media directly from the CPaaS themselves and processing accordingly. I'm not sure I'm answering that correctly.
Yeah, and I think part of that as well, right? So you're doing to the overlap compared to like the carrier services. So if you're looking at, and maybe I misread the question, and if I did, you can elaborate on this. But really, when you're talking about the UC collaboration, obviously we're leveraging the 3 platforms that we've talked about, right? The multi-UC. Yeah. And then when it facilitates both calls and video calls, obviously you're going to lean on the NUWAVE network on the delivery of the voice enablement tools on a user basis. And if I misunderstood that question, if you can elaborate, and then we can address that further. Yeah.
So in this scenario where we're receiving the media from the service provider, in this case it would be NUWAVE, we're integrated to a point where we can receive that media or sit rec and capture it. For the platforms, for example, Cisco, we are in every region globally where there's a WebEx platform or WebEx cloud enabled, we're sitting right next to that. So we're capturing from the solution service provider, which in that case it's coming from the platform as SIPREC. I mentioned very earlier on that we work with over 250 service providers globally. So what that means is we're integrated on a native level into those service provider networks. So we're receiving that media from the network in the scenario where that's relevant. So it's a mixture of both. But the whole idea is it's delivered as part of the network in all of those situations. So there's no real ability for the end customer to break policy, internal policies where we can't capture the data. So it's not over the top. We deliver the media directly from the source. A little differently sometimes, but it's always directly from the source.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great question, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, out of the box, the different topics that we look at, include for sales, we look at, oh my gosh, sorry. Where are these things? For customer service, multiple screens. Out of the box, the type of topics that we look at, like billing and accounts, delivery, marketing, advertising, privacy and security. These are pre-configured and have been done that way because they work with the model to understand what's consistent across that type of theme. If we drill down a level from there, we actually then look at what we call connections, which are consistent themes happening within the call. So, a call might be coming in and getting at the moment it's being identified as the delivery moment against customer service, or it might be a follow-up item. We're basically tagging that with the moment, but then it could be against a consistent theme or consistent word like a product. So whether that's a mobile phone name or a service name, or etc. Anything that's been discussed or surfaced across the entirety of the business, it's going to start to build a foundational overview of what is important, what's relevant, what consistently gets spoken about within that business. So if there's there's an event happening, or a response to a marketing campaign, or a service has gone down in a region, or a new product is hit the market and there's inquiries by consumers to the business to say, hey, do you stock this particular item? That's going to be identified up and above all these different topics very quickly. So again, gives a very deep insight and overview of what's important, what's relevant today for that customer across the different units, business departments, et cetera, and so forth, teams, locations. And then, as we talked about, employee wellbeing, so the abuse model, where we're looking at things like aggressive language, emotional abuse, sexual harassment, threats, those type of scenarios or activities that are happening are going to be automatically identified within that customer. Those conversations. Moving on really quickly to give a couple of use cases. How are we going for time? We're getting short on time.
We've got about 5.
Yeah, so, and again, any of these we can drill in at a later date with you and give you a run through the actual platform, but we've had a lot of success in the retail space, as example, with these products. Why? Dispersed workforces, dispersed locations, very difficult to understand, or traditionally have a solution that captures all of that data and then allows you to granularly analyze it. Out of the box, there'd still be somebody that had to go through that, understand it, listen to it, look at transcripts. The work's done. We're able to understand, across multiple locations, I guess you would say, what's going right, what's going wrong within the customer, within those different locations. That allows for very quick changes to happen within an organisation. So how do we increase the amount of bookings and the store traffic off the back of a marketing campaign? What are customers saying? Are the store workers getting them off the phone and into the actual store? So are they booking appointments, getting the customer to come in, purchase the product, or are they then doing it on the phone? That type of insight and analysis would be extremely difficult to do in the past. So this has been a bit of success. The need for things like secret shoppers out the door, don't need it anymore. Can understand exactly what the staff are saying. Are they answering questions, inquiries correctly, and et cetera and so forth. Financial services, so banks improve sales effectiveness. You think, okay, well, compliance use cases traditionally, by overlaying the traditional compliance use cases with the conversational AI, there's always inquiries that happen within those calls. Like you call your banker, or you make an inquiry about a problem you've got, and almost if you've got the time, you'll always inquire about something else, and those inquiries can lead to sales. So I won't, just because of time, I'll just go a bit quicker through that. But a lot of opportunities historically being missed to improve that customer engagement, customer journey, where they've historically been calling about an issue, being able to answer an inquiry without having to go through the 4 different department bounce that usually happens.
And
then,
Adrian, I know we're coming up on our minute. I do have one other question that came in that I'd like to have addressed for the team.
Yeah.
Does the solution support on-demand user initiated recording?
Yes, it does. Good question. Thank you from whoever that was. That was a recent upgrade to the integration with iPILOT to have those advanced controls available, which gives you quite granular controls up and above the policies, which is traditionally set by the organisation. They're now available and have been released already in production to allow for the granular management of recording within the environments. Lastly but not least, I mentioned this earlier, you're starting with recording plus trends. What's the value? Really quickly, we capture the data and we start to visually and not only capture the calls, allow all the features for playback and management, but also say if we're tracking sales performance, how's our average tracking going across that period of time? But then we'll start to highlight the outlier days. So let's say, for example, today's Tuesday, maybe Monday, there was more than a 10% increase in the sales journey or sales performance within the business, and that might be that sales are up for whatever reason. You're going to start to see these outlier days, and how it identifies that is it benchmarks those days against the 5 previous weeks. So Monday, so for yesterday's result, we would look at the 5 previous Mondays and say, okay, there's an increase or decrease in terms of sales performance or complaints happening in customer service within the business. Let's drill in and understand what's happening. So they can still drill in and manage recordings, listen to the recordings, look at the transcripts, that sort of stuff. But if they want to actually understand what exactly has happened, why it happened, then they move up that value chain to the more premium SKUs or the SKUs that have more functionality. That motion was designed to deliver out-of-the-box value as well as secondary opportunity for our partners.
Perfect.
And I'm going to stop there. Thank you so much. I've spoken a lot.
No, man, Adrian, you did a brilliant job, my friend. I appreciate it. I know that was a lot of talking. I know you're trying to drink water too. I know the voice is getting a little raspy there. But on our NUWAVE side, obviously, we truly appreciate our partnership with Dubber. They're a great organization to work with. That's the reason why we've incorporated them into our product portfolio ourselves. And so based on today's conversation, once again, expect a phone call from your sales directors. If we want to schedule additional one-on-ones, I know there's some people in here from technical to sales to administration today. I encourage us to pull everybody in. We'll do one-on-ones. Adrian's a brilliant when it comes to the demoing factors, but definitely expect a phone call from us. And as always, we truly appreciate the channel here at NUWAVE, and I'll let everybody get back to their day.
Thanks, Travis. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks again.
Okay.